Hope everybody's having a great Sunday. Welcome back to the Conservation Conversation. I'm your host, Eric Crown, and today we're going to talk about veganism. Is it sustainable? And here we go on episode 7. All right, and welcome back. It's good to see everybody here today. I love having the conservation conversation because we get to talk about such a wide variety of topics. And, this one today is very dear to my heart. This one is veganism. And it's a topic that's actually shown up on a few different other shows that we've been doing. So I think it's I think it's exciting that we're getting to do this today with everybody. Hi, Andrea and Joanna and Claire. It's good to see everybody. International audience again, which I also love about this show. I think to me, that's just, I think that's an amazing aspect of what we have going on here, which is a conversation that all of us can join, all of us can talk about. So what I'd like to do today is start with a quote. We always like to kind of start off with a different quote. Thank you, Michelle. Good to see you here on the show today. So today's quote is actually from a sign that I saw when I was in Iquitos, Peru in 2017. And it says, "It's incredible that nature cries out for our help, and even more incredible that nobody listens." And this was made by some elementary school kids, and these posters were put up all around Iquitos, which is basically the entryway into the Amazon once you're in Peru. So let's see. You know what? Let's do this. Here we go. Whoop. Now we got everybody on screen. Hey, everybody. I was being selfish before. I was just reading the comments to myself. Hey, Mitch. I'm very excited Mitch is here, guys. Mitch made an amazing comment the other day about switching over from eggs and bacon and heavy, thick, dairy-laden breakfasts to oatmeal and some other things, and the effect it had. So, Mitch, I'm very excited you're here today. Today's going to be amazing. We have Dr. Klaper, who is a very well-known vegan educator, and he's actually an MD doctor, and we're going to talk to him. And, guys, remember that your comments can go directly on, so he can read them, or I'll read them out to him. So we have an extraordinary experience today in that we have access to really get into a great conversation and ask questions to Dr. Klaper, which I'm very excited about, and I'm sure a lot of people are also. Hey, Robin, welcome from New England. And we're about New England. So also, before we start, I'm just kind of curious if anybody out there is vegan or vegetarian, or if you've made changes to your diets and why. So I just would love to kind of see where everybody's coming from. We have a lot of people that do eat meat and that love meat. We have people that are getting rid of meat. We have people that are doing Meatless Monday. We have a wide variety of people. And the idea here is that we need to all get together and really combine. And I think that is what those kids were talking about. And speaking of kids, we got to give a shout out to all these amazing kids that were out there and all the adults that helped get all of these climate protests around the entire world. It's incredible. These kids have to face the consequences of the actions that the generation before us took. So here we are, we're all engaged in our fight, but these kids, this is their future. We may not live to see the changes, the horrible changes that we are creating within this world, but they will. And I think it's incredible that they all stepped up and said, we need to change this. So it's outstanding. And here we go. Oh, fantastic. So Mitch, okay, awesome. Oh, Andrea, look, vegetarian for 2 months. That's great. That is great. Now, okay, so we're on the topic of veganism. So let me just start off by saying that I am vegan. But what I'd like to say is that what is vegan? I'm not vegan enough for some, and I'm too vegan for others. So veganism works on multiple levels. Veganism is both an approach to health. It's also a sort of consciousness, and there's a movement. So we have to, hey, Robin, yes, exactly. I agree, Robin. And that's the whole thing is, we have a thing where a lot of times vegans can get very passionate and we can miss moments to talk to each other. And so that's what I want today to be, is for everybody to think about veganism in a slightly different fashion now. I want for us to come together and ask questions. And a lot of vegans would say if you're vegetarian, you're just as bad. I personally, my experience is I was diagnosed with cancer in 2005. Um, from there, I spent about 10 years getting surgeries. I had 8 surgeries in 10 years. And then they put me on radiation. So, wrong way. So once I was on radiation, I started to get seizures and I had nothing but bad experiences. And I realized, why do I keep getting cancer over and over? And I saw a documentary called Forks Over Knives. And I'm sure a lot of you have maybe seen this before. This changed everything for me. This was my waking up and going, you know what? I need to change, because I was eating mostly just steaks and hamburgers and cheeseburgers. And like almost all vegans I know, we weren't all raised vegans. So we all had a moment where we transitioned over. And that's what I'm trying to bring up, is that we have to make sure we build bridges, not walls, but bridges to everybody that has an interest in learning or that has an open mind to it. We all have a different moral compass that we operate by. And that goes in business, in life, in religion, in politics, in everything. So, that aspect of it is definitely one aspect of it. When I tried going vegetarian when I was 17, because I learned about slaughterhouses, and I was so upset at what I had seen and learned. And I'm 46 now, so that was a little while back. That was when the information was very first starting to come out. And what happened was I stopped out of feeling terrible for what I was doing. And then I started eating meat again in like 2 months. So, but anyway, after I had cancer for a long time, and I still do, I battle with it every day. But I found that switching over to a vegan diet slowed down the rate of growth. And it's still there. It'll never be gone. But my doctors don't fully understand what kind of cancer it is. So the idea for me was that it's probably made out of all this stuff they're giving agriculture. And now we get into animal agriculture. Between the dangerous aspects of what they're putting in to the food, the absolute destructive practices that are causing this issue, animal agriculture has a lot to do with it. Whether you're vegan or not, everyone basically agrees that there needs to be a change. And that's why these kids are amazing, because the way that we were thinking 50 years ago is what got us here today. So we cannot think the way we thought 50 years ago. And these kids are growing up with the new access to information that a lot of us didn't have. We had to go to get the card catalog, right? Go in and see if there's a book on it, maybe, and is the book in or is it checked out? Usually topics I was interested in either had no books or they were checked out. So, we have an extraordinary experience here. And that, again, that's why I love the show today, because everybody is here. We're all talking about this. Camilla says, vegan because I cannot bear unnecessary suffering of animals. Yes. And that is, Camilla brings up a great point. That's a very important aspect to it. For me, I started being a vegan because of health. I didn't want to go through these cancer surgeries anymore, and I didn't want to do radiation. It was too destructive. So that was my changeover. And as time went on, I found myself more in tune with my surroundings. And I feel that I now am able to live in what I'm comfortable with, which is my mindful compassion. And I try to live out of compassion. So there is that aspect to it. Now, another area of Joanna, with regards to your cancer, please look up Cliff High, battle with only to find out it was cancer. He talks about, oh, fantastic. Yes. And that's the amazing thing. I mean, for everybody working on cancer research, thank you. We have a long way to go. A lot of doctors are not recognizing these chemicals we're eating are giving us our cancer. A lot of activists are, and a lot of other scientists are, but doctors are not. So there's still kind of a disconnect that we all have to go through. And anyway, that's what brought me to veganism. Okay, yeah, now Michelle works in the medical industry, says, a doctor I work with said to me, plant eaters typically don't get cancer. Exactly, factual health benefits of eating meat. Exactly. That's the thing. My tumors grew out of control, and as soon as I stopped eating meat, and I stopped eating dairy, which came for me about a year or two later, all the tumors slowed down. And I'm happy to say it's been about 3 years. They are growing back, but at a very mild rate that I can deal with. I decided to get rid of all the rest of that stuff. So, and yes, you're right, Robin. These are no longer theories. They're facts. And it's very true. So now One thing, oh, Barbara, my cancer, no, unfortunately, it's not in remission. It is a very unique type of cancer. They don't know exactly what to do, but it's still wrapped around my spine and my tailbone. And in order for them to fully remove it, they would have to do more radiation to try to shrink it, then take it out. But the possible outcomes of the surgery are, to me, far outweigh the thing of just letting it live there. It's wrapped around my bone. At the moment, it is not metastasized. They do not expect it to metastasize, but they can see that sometimes it tries in the MRIs. So, hey, every day's a gamble for all of us, right? So, the day it metastasizes, that's a different timeline than the timeline that I have now. And we all have our timelines. But, what we have to think about is health. And I never thought about health. I grew up with the standard, I want to smoke cigarettes and drink and eat some steaks, and I can do what I want because killing myself's my choice. And who told us that, right? The ad agencies that were selling all this dangerous crap to us. Anyway. But what I did want to say is that we have to think about sustainability on a few levels. Now, as a vegan, I do have some issues with veganism because I think that a lot of times, we're trying to find a new way forward, a new way ahead. But we do live in a glass house, and we have to remember that. But it's actually a plastic house. And I say that because the movement very often can be divided into two sort of areas. One is the natural movement, people that eat raw, people that only eat things with natural wrappers. I had to do that when I was traveling abroad, when I was in Cambodia, Philippines, Vietnam, these areas. The safest thing for me to do was just grab carrots, tomatoes, avocados, coconuts, and that was pretty much my life. Lychees and a few other amazing things. Dragon fruit and passion fruit. Oh, passion fruit. Anyway, I think that there's that aspect. But now we have a new brand of veganism that's arriving that's wrapped in plastic, which I think is a very problematic issue that we have to address. Beyond Meat, fantastic, but they sell it in plastic. So we are saving animals today by choosing to not eat meat, but are we killing animals in the future? We, as vegans, have a very invested passion in how the future works for all animals, but I do think that sometimes we need to be more responsible as a movement now. We are a movement, and we are a force. I mean, there's been a rise in veganism that has been incredible. Let me show you guys here. This is the Google searches for veganism, and you can see that it just shot up. They estimate there's close to 1 billion vegans now worldwide. The numbers aren't really necessarily looked into. Nobody's really counting that much, but we do know that there's been so many vegans that have come on that now we do have the Impossible Burger, we do have Beyond Meat. Those are all controversial within the world of vegans. But again, what I want to talk about is we need to get it together and become a sustainable movement. And we should remember that we are not perfect because our movement still has ways to improve. And as a result, we should not judge other people. That's just my view. Again, I'm too vegan for some, not vegan for others. But what I say, my personal feeling is that we are all want to do this. If somebody is just doing Meatless Mondays, bless them, because they have stopped a percentage of sales of meat. And that is how we just grind that machine down. That's why Burger King is offering burgers, whether you agree with them or not. The fact that they're offering them is a huge changeover. And the whole idea is to bring carnists, which is how they're referred to, over to the other side. So, again, when we talk about sustainability, we want to talk about, is the veganism movement sustainable? And that is a very controversial topic. I did find a few packaging companies that actually are fantastic. Let's take a look here. And we have to remember one thing to think about is I wanted to show you guys this actually. There's a couple interesting foods that you'd be surprised are vegan. This is one of them. Crescent rolls are vegan, original flavor only, but everybody loves that taste of butter in there. And so, I wanted to just bring up that all these foods are vegan, by the way, according to BuzzFeed. Not that I recommend eating them, but if you want your junk food, you can still have, Swedish Fish, Oreos, everybody, Oreos, and Ritz butter-flavored crackers. original flavor. It's vegan. Who knew, right? So there's actually a lot of things that people don't think about that are actually vegan. Again, I'm not saying like Oreos are the best way to go, but there are transitional foods, and today is all about making transitions. Those of us that are vegan, there's still more to learn. That's the other thing. Nutrition is hidden. We don't know much about nutrition. We are taught, when I was growing up, I'm sure a lot of you can relate, there was this horrible food pyramid, and the top of it was like bread or something, and it was like meat. Then it was like cheese, and then at the bottom it was like in a sliver, teeny sliver is vegetable. And that's how I was raised, because nobody knew any different. We all thought we had knowing what we had. So anyway, that is a few things that I wanted to talk about today. So also, before we go too far into veganism, one thing I wanted to do was to bring the definition of veganism in, and I wanted to bring this in through the Vegan Society, which is a great website. If you guys are interested in feeling better, go check out the vegansociety.com. It's fantastic. Let me put the website on right now just so you can take a look at it. It might be able to answer some questions. But anyway, veganism is a way of living which seeks to exclude, as far as is possible and practical, all forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose. So, with that in mind, what I would like to sort of talk about is that was the Vegan Society was created in the 1940s. That definition is fantastic, but there have been some significant changes since then, and I think that also as a culture we need to evolve. For example, it's complicated. It's not easy being vegan. You have to give up certain things that are conveniences. For example, I know a lot of vegans who still will use leather. Now, some of it is repurposed leather or reconstituted leather. Leather's already been in the scene. That's its own debate over if you guys think that's okay or not. But they're not buying new leather, and they're not allowing the demands for new leather. So that's what matters there. But what about plastic bottles? I mean, if we treated plastic the way we treat animal agriculture, our movement would morph and I think even bring even more people in. And the ultimate goal is that everybody's healthier, because if everyone's healthier, then the individuals are healthier, the world is healthier, and the animals will live better as well. And, and Mitch says, how do you feel about GMO? Mitch, that's a great question. GMO is a very tricky thing. I personally don't think it's necessary. And you guys can correct me. I mean, everyone has something that they feel about GMOs, but I think that if we were to rethink agriculture, and instead of using agriculture to feed a bunch of animal industry that then goes through all these processes of using all this oil and all this destruction to the environment, to the humans, to the animals, oh God, poor animals. It's just nothing. But it's a lot of negativity, and it all turns into profit. So if we went back to understanding that the earth has the space that we need, the soil, I think about that every day. Soil is made to grow food. It's made to grow everything. Nature's here. It's got everything we need. We don't need slaughterhouses and McDonald's. We don't need it. We just think we do, because in the 50s, we were told that, and over 50, 60 years now, we have not risen up to fully challenge that. And you're right, Michelle, most consumers are in the dark. And you know what? It's hard because, look, the world's crazy, right? Like, everyone has 10 minutes a day to themselves. And education, nutrition, and being a very ethical consumer all take time. I mean, who's going to go sit at Google for 5-6 hours, on their one day off just to see if they should go buy Fritos or not? So vegansociety.com has an app. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to do a review of it next week. And also, I always recommend, guys, boycott.com. Boycott is an app. It goes onto your thing, you scan it, and it'll tell you. You can join the campaigns of what your ethics are and what bothers you, and it'll tell you if your food you're choosing violates those ethics or not. So it's an outstanding app. Yeah, Mitch brings up, yeah, exactly. Glyphosates, Roundup Ready. Glyphosates have been getting a lot of attention, which is good. I mean, I was shocked when I found out that all the wine in California had tested positive for glyphosates. So I kind of stopped drinking California wine. I mean, it's so tricky. And guys, it's tricky. They put animal stuff everywhere. For example, vegans that still want to remind themselves of the old days might enjoy a Coca-Cola. But did you know that Coca-Cola has a little bit of gelatin in it? Yeah, to adhere some of the chemicals in there. Coke's own website warns people Coca-Cola and their products may not be vegan. Why would you need an animal product in a soda, right? Now, most vegans probably don't even drink sodas because we're all like, why would we drink sodas? They're just made of sugar and chemicals, and the whole purpose is to dechemical and to get back to nature, which is, again, we're going to have our guest coming up very soon. Dr. Klaper is going to talk to us about health, and then Allison Jade is going to talk to us about amazing ways that we can transition ourselves over. And I think what's incredible is that she raises her family as vegan and her kids as vegan, and that's its own topic there. Herbicide manufactured in China. Anglersvoice.com. Yes, anglersvoice.com does have a lot of great resources. You guys can go check there. Now, there's something that we didn't notice, but Robin Lee said, I studied this research for decades as a vet science student in the 70s, not understanding why the livestock feed was filled with growth hormones, steroids, antibiotics, and other crap. And what about all the vaccines the livestock was getting? Livestock vaccines, antibiotics, yum. No, very dangerous, very cancerous. And you know what, Robin? Thank you for saying that, because as somebody that ingested all this stuff and got cancer, I wish somebody would have told me a long time ago of what's happening here, because it's preventable. This is the problem. This is what makes me angry, is that this is preventable. My cancer, and as Dr. Klaper is going to talk about, just because it's in our genes doesn't mean we're going to get it. It doesn't mean just because your genetic code may have cancer in it doesn't mean you're going to have cancer. And it's not the whole part of it. Environment has a lot to do with it. It's what unlocked mine, and it's what slowed mine down by changing that. So again, I can only come from a personal standpoint. So we're also going to talk today, is the vegan diet sustainable? Do you really need meat or dairy? I know I put this on the post before, but you guys know that in the USDA, there is a certain amount of pus that is allowed in milk. So if you drink milk, you're going to have some pus in it. Just that alone. It's like, what? Anyway, aside from other aspects of it, that's one thing that's important. And a lot of people stop eating meat and they're like, well, dairy can't be cruel, right? I just want to throw out there, and again, if you go to vegansociety.com, you'll learn more about this. And the thing is, they estimate over 90,000 calves are killed every year because they're not necessary, but they're born to keep the mothers lactating so that dairy can be made and processed at this rate. So there is a lot of small calves being shot in the head because the dairy industry continues. So, if you're vegetarian, just think about that. Again, when I became vegetarian, all I ate was pizza because I hated vegetables, right? So anyway, we have all that to do. Anyway, these are amazing conversations that I'm seeing here, everybody. And Mitch is correct. Everyone has different DNA or chemical makeup. And this is what makes it so complicated. There's fruitarians, there's vegetarians, there's vegans. There is a wide variety of approaches to healthy eating. But the number one thing is that I think is that people find a way to eat that's good for their bodies and good for the world around them. I don't think we have that luxury of not, seeing what's happening when we do this. So, but I don't want people that are not vegan or not vegetarian to walk away from this conversation. I'd like to use this as a way to open some doors and talk and tell us what your concerns are and your questions. For example, today I would love to talk about, are you going to get protein if you're vegetarian? Everyone asks me if I get enough protein. Second one is, am I getting enough calcium for my bones? My question would be, does calcium actually leach from your bones and create osteoporosis? This would be a good question for Dr. Klaper. The third is vegan is expensive. And we're going to get into that with Allison as well. She's got some other great ideas on how to do that. So, and Molly says, read all the labels. Yes, Molly, that is so important because they will try to trick us into all forms of dangerous stuff for ourselves. Yeah, Michelle. Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I learned there was pus in milk, for me, honestly, that was the last thing that I needed to think, okay, well, soy milk, why not? Right? So again, I would like to just say that, what you are, how you are as a vegan, if you're not a vegan, some bodies have a hard time adjusting to vegans. And I think that veganism, and you always hear the stories about people not feeling well when they become vegans, but a lot of that has to do with our understanding of nutrition. And that's why Dr. Klaper is going to be on in a few minutes, because we learn all the wrong nutrition. And a lot of us, when we start being vegan or vegetarian, we just simply stop eating meat, but we continue eating what we know, which are just sides. You're going to eat potatoes and corn, and you're not going to understand that you need some amino acids, and you're not going to know about Bragg's, and you're not going to know about all this other stuff. So it's not only an approach to life, but it's a re-education of yourself within the world and yourself within everything. And I think that, and I think it's important. I mean, for example, one way that the meat industry is dangerous is we've seen the Amazon burning, and we've seen all these things burning. And I would like to bring up that if we have meat, we are contributing to the meat trade. We're contributing to the animal trade in general. Most vegans, of course, we don't go to circuses. We would never go to an aquarium, a zoo. Now, I understand some aquariums do actually have things set up where they bring in animals, save them, and put them back out. It's a legal loophole. They're the only ones allowed to take in injured or endangered animals. So we have to change the laws. If we don't like that, guys, we have to go change our laws. We have elections coming up. We have politicians that need to be accountable for our environmental understanding and our environmental well-being and our animals' environmental well-being. Anyway, but I digress. So I did want to show you guys, though, you've got all these burning forests, you've got all these things, and it all is tied together. We have to think about that. One thing I wanted to show you is that, there's lion meat on the market, guys. $50,000 for a pound, and it's legal in America. I don't know if it's legal in your country. You might want to check. But I just wanted it to be an example of how everything ties together in what we're doing. So just consider the environment, consider your health, consider the animals, consider everything around you, and consider what we have left, which is maybe 10% of our fisheries, maybe 8% of our big sharks. I mean, we're getting down into single digits percentages of numbers of animals that we have left. And veganism, in the way that I live it, and I hope you'll be open to the concept of it, is a way to not only improve your own health, but to improve the health of the world around us, and to remember that, as they say, it's not about ego, it's about eco. And I know everybody has seen this before, but it just bears repeating. So I'm going to now bring on Dr. Klaper. I'm going to go ahead and get everything ready. I'm going to play a video for you guys from his TEDx talk. And Dr. Klaper brings up the point that Mitch brings up, which is everybody's DNA is different. And after spending years and years of studying nutrition and education, trying to educate myself on it, I did find that this video actually filled in a bunch of gaps for me as well. So I'm excited to share this with you. This is our upcoming host, this is our upcoming guest, Dr. Klaper, and this is his TED Talk. So we're going to watch this real quick, get Dr. Klaper on, and come on back and talk to everybody. Here we go.
We now know that food brings in a lot more than fats, carbohydrates, and protein. Our food is chemically alive. Within minutes of eating anything, molecules of that food are washing through every cell in your body where your DNA lies unfolded. And the food molecules wash through your cells and they play your DNA like a piano. And they turn genes on, they turn genes off. They induce enzymes, they shut enzymes down. Every meal changes us on a genetic molecular level. In this digital age, we can't be shocked to realize that food brings in not only nutrients, it brings in information. The science is called nutrigenomics. It's how your food turns your genes on and off. And we can't pretend this is not happening. This is where inflammation starts. This is where cancer starts. This is where immunity resides. This is where healing begins if we turn on the right genes with our food. People blame their genetics. Oh, my dad had a heart attack at age 56. I'm going to get one too. Yeah, if you run the same food through your tissues, you'll create the same diseases. But in one sentence, to free you from the idea that you're genetically predetermined to get these diseases, your genes may load the gun, but your diet and your lifestyle pull the trigger. About whether that disease actually manifests in your body depends upon the molecules you're flowing through your tissues day after day.
All right, well, here we are. We have Dr. Klaper with us. Thanks for being here today.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Eric, and your listeners.
Oh, great, thank you. Now, I was really, really blown away when you talked about how the food that we eat plays our genes like a piano. Could you talk to us a little bit more about that so we can understand our relationship and give us some insight into how veganism affects that?
Right. In classical teaching, certainly when I went to medical school, and biologists all over the world until the last 10 to 20 years, felt that our genes were basically locked in stone. Whatever your genes told you were going to be, you were, and for everything from blue eyes to athletic performance. And it was just in your DNA, and there's nothing you could do about it. And the genetic structure was looked at as very inert and immovable. Well, now we know that that's woefully, laughably inadequate as an explanation. The truth is our DNA is a living molecule, and it's sensitive to everything around it, the amount of water, the amount of minerals, the amount of acidity in the milieu, and certainly by the food that flows through our cells. As I mentioned in the video, within minutes of eating anything, our digestive system is so efficient that molecules of that food are washing through every cell in our body. And there is our DNA reacting to the environment, and it certainly does. And our food turns genes on, turns genes off. And the kind of food molecules that are washing through the cells are fundamentally different if you're eating a plant-based diet versus an animal-based diet. Just in computer language, just the difference between 1 and 0. If you are eating animal products, animal flesh in any form, you're going to be bathing your cells in everything from oxidized cholesterol to arachidonic acid that leads to pro-inflammatory prostaglandins. There's going to be fragments of animal muscle and nerve and various remnants of the animal that are going to turn on particular genes. Our body will react to that. As opposed, and a lot of these are pro-inflammatory. They set off inflammatory reactions. Many of them are mutagenic, where they cause mutations in the genes that may set people up for cancers and birth defects. Not a friendly assortment of molecules when compared to a whole food plant-based diet. Not to say that plants don't have some toxins in them, but that's why we have a digestive system and antioxidants, etc. But the vast majority of molecules that wash through your cells after a plant-based meal are going to be those sulforaphanes and phytonutrients that are stabilizing. They're antioxidants. They quench free radicals. They turn on genes that promote tissue repair. In general, as I say, they give the chemical message to your tissues of shh, calm down, everything's okay. You don't have to set up a big inflammatory reaction. And indeed, we see this time and again. People with inflammatory diseases uh, change to a plant-based diet, and their joints stop hurting, and their skin clears up, and their lungs stop wheezing, and the migraine headaches go away. And again, it's from the genes that we've affected in our cells have created a whole different milieu in our body. We've been underestimating the effect of our food for too long, and as we drill down on it, animal versus plant is something that we can no longer ignore either if we really want to get healthy and get on with our healing here.
I love when you talked about that each time we are rebuilding our molecular structure and our being. I had a thing where I had hypertension, high blood pressure. I was told I was going to have a heart attack if I didn't stop eating meat. And that was when I was in my 20s. And I thought, wow, what have I done that's wrong? And now I have everything's perfect, and I don't even worry about what I eat. I just eat tons of fruits and vegetables every day. That's another aspect I was curious about. A lot of people say, well, be careful if you eat too many carrots or you eat this or that, and it's kind of this strange thing. Can you address, what would happen, or I guess food as medicine, as far as how can you eat vegetarian? Do you have to count anything, or are you pretty free to just eat away?
Oh, such an important question. And when I do my nutritional counseling with patients, I can get a real look of joy on my face and a note of enthusiasm in my voice as I say, this is guilt-free eating. You don't have to count calories. There's no portion control. Whether you go back for a fourth bowl of vegetable soup, who cares? It's vegetable soup. It's all fiber and water. It doesn't stick to you, and it's more good phytonutrients that are coming into your tissues. So no, it's guilt-free eating, and it's low anxiety eating. But it does ask a few things. It wants us to eat real plant foods, like our ancient foraging ancestors who spent all day digging up roots and tubers and gathering leaves and berries, etc. They want us to eat whole plant foods. We get in problems, including vegans. Now we get ourselves into problems when we start processing foods and we add a bunch of salt and sugar and oil and take away the good fiber and phytonutrients. It's no longer food at that point, and that's what a lot of people live on. But as long as you are eating foods that you can identify in their form that they were growing in the garden. When we say whole foods, we're talking about if you were a garden, you could, oh, that's a tomato over there. Oh, those are carrots over there. Oh, that's chard over there. If you can call them by name, eat all that you want, and your body will know what to do with it. That's how we're set up. We have basically the same digestive system that our gorilla and bonobo cousins have, and they're up in the trees eating leaves and fruits. They're basically herbivorous eating creatures, and we violate that natural law at our own peril. And as long as we align with those basic principles, we experience what you experienced. You had some serious diseases there. Your arteries were clogged up and inflamed and running at high pressures, and you were indeed on the road to a stroke or a heart attack or something worse. But you got off that train. You changed the entire nature of the food stream, and look what happened. Weight comes down, the arteries open up, the high blood pressure comes down, the inflammation subsides, and you turn into a normal, healthy guy.
That's true.
That's the way it's supposed to work.
It's true.
I tell my patients I want to see you in two places and two places only, on the bicycle path and at the health food store buying your tempeh. Those are the only places I want to see you. And because they go live your life. You don't need doctors to help you do that, be healthy.
Now, what are some, okay, this is something that, generationally, I think we're learning a lot more now. We have doctors like you, and we have a lot of other people that are speaking up, that are helping us learn nutrition, which we're not taught in school. And unfortunately, a lot of parents don't have the time or the knowledge of what's happening to really, bring it up to get everybody really healthy. What are some misinformation that you would warn people about? For example, I've often heard that milk actually leaches calcium out of your bones, or could enhance osteoporosis as opposed to being something that could help solve it. Do we have maybe one or two examples of those you could give us?
Oh, absolutely. We've grown up with such nutritional misinformation, and not all of it has been accidental. The folks who purvey meat products and dairy products would love us to believe that meat is absolutely essential. You can't be big and strong without eating animal flesh. And cow's milk, best source of calcium. You got to have dairy products for your bones. These are two absolutely invalid monikers, slogans that have been implanted in our brains here that have no scientific truth behind them at all. And they cause great damage. We now know that a diet high in animal flesh is a recipe for clogged arteries and colon cancers and autoimmune disease. And dairy products are filled with everything from allergenic proteins to carcinogenic hormones and to leukemia viruses. Unless you're a baby calf, there's no reason to be drinking the milk of a cow any more than you should be drinking the milk of a giraffe. And so those are two things that have been inculcated into our nutritional beliefs that are completely invalid and harmful when people follow those pieces of advice. And I must tell you, thank you. My noble profession of medicine is one of the major culprits behind this ongoing nutritional ignorance. The doctors aren't taught anything about nutrition in school. They don't have respect for the subject, even though they're all treating nutrition-based diseases all day, and they're eating the same junk themselves. So they're not going to tell their patients not to eat it. And as a result of this, this nutritional vacuum continues, and it's doubly tragic because if we can get the light on in these young doctors' head that these fearsome diseases, the clogged arteries, the diabetes, the autoimmune disease, they go away on a whole food plant-based diet, where every doc who practices nutrition-based, lifestyle-based medicine, each of us has a stable full of patients who, like you, used to have high blood pressure, used to have diabetes, used to have arthritis. These diseases go away. It's from the bad diet we're eating. Healthy diets clear this up, but no one's telling the young doctors this. And so that's why I left clinical practice to devote the rest of my career to going around to medical schools and giving those young students the lecture I wish somebody had given me 50 years ago about making these diseases go away for real. If people want to learn about our work, I'm sure Eric will have something on his website. But Go to my website, drklaper.com, and click on Moving Medicine Forward, and you'll see the work that we're doing.
Oh,
so
we'll put a link at the bottom when we're done, so everybody can have access to that.
Thank you.
Because I want to spread the word as far as we can. And
really, my noble profession is really lagging behind. It's embarrassing, and it's time to yard them into the 21st century and get these young doctors healing people, because these are all reversible diseases that they're dealing with by and large.
And so, it's interesting because it sounds like in a lot of ways also what we have to do with people in general, which is re-educate. And
absolutely,
one thing I wanted to ask you about, and now everybody, we've got about another 15 minutes with Dr. Klaper. So if you have questions for him, please go ahead and type them on the screen so I can ask directly. And a lot of people in the medical industry are also, a lot of nurses see improved health with that. Now, here's kind of my question. I'd like to start it by framing it with the idea that in psychology, when children abuse, torture, or kill animals, they're considered possibly psychotic, or it's a warning bell that professionals use as a way to gauge what this child might be capable of. But when they become adults and it goes into a slaughterhouse, that same moral is not applied. Now, this is where my question comes in, is we talk about children. A lot of people will say, oh, well, I'm an adult, so I can choose to be vegan. Now, my question is, what are your thoughts on raising children vegan? And is it cruel are we applying a meat-based perspective into that by saying children should have to wait until they're 18 and choose if they want to be vegan or not?
Well, it should be the other way around. They should be vegan until they're 18 and decide at that point if they want to add meat into their diet. It's a very profound question that you ask, Eric, and not one to be considered lightly. But it's ironic that really, is a vegan diet safe for children? And again, it's the animal-based diet with all the processed food that's creating this epidemic of obese children with type 2 diabetes and clogged arteries. It's the standard Western diet with a lot of meat and dairy in it that's really driving these diseases. I've delivered about 35 or 40 of my 400 deliveries. About 35 of them were to vegan parents. And I've watched these kids grow up eating whole food, plant-based vegan diets. And they turn into lovely, full-size, intelligent, bright, loving people who have gone on to have another generation of vegan kids. I'm that old now. And it's not an issue. Can you raise a child as vegan? Yes, that's how you should do it. They grow up just fine. Yeah, they need some B12 and and whole foods but if you get those kids eating healthy early, recommend people go to the website of Dr. Brooke Goldner, Goldner, and she's a physician who's raising her 2 kids as vegan, and watch how joyously she does it and all the great ideas that she has for raising vegan children. But absolutely, it's a reasonable thing to do. And it's the greatest gift you can give a child on so many levels, purely on the health viewpoint. You're sparing them. They're not going to be the fat kid in school. You're sparing them obesity. You're sparing them a lifetime of doctor's visits and diseases from their diabetes, et cetera, et cetera. Plus, kids know about the animals, and that kind of diet really reinforces that child. All life is precious, including the animals. We really are here to care for them, and it's not right to turn your back on them. And gee, I love cows, but boy, that beef burger tastes good. The kids they're onto that one, and so on every level, a whole food plant-based diet is the best gift a parent can give their children. And again, there's lots of information. Just Google "raising vegan children," and you'll see books and articles on how to do it. Not that hard, and the kids, it's the gift beyond measure you're giving your children.
That's great. I love that. And Allison, who's going to be on next, who's kind of a lifestyle coach. She helps people transition into vegan lifestyles, and she's raising her family as vegan. So, she's definitely a big advocate of that
Good work.
too. And I'm glad to hear that because, as we're getting more and more conscious, more people are starting to lead that way. Now, I have a quick question here. It says, this is from Michelle. It says, Dr. Klaper, if one goes vegan, can we actually reverse the effects of years of garbage eating? At least we can stop further inflammation, but what about reversing the effects?
Oh, thank you for that. It's stunning. The human body humbles me on a daily basis. The more I learn about it, the more I see it heal itself. And it's stunning how the body, if you just give it the right fuel, if you have a gasoline burning engine and you've been pouring diesel fuel in it, that's kerosene. It's not the right fuel. You start putting gasoline in it, runs great. The answer is yes. These diseases are eminently reversible. It's stunning. You've got these wonderful organs called your kidneys and your liver, and as you eat these whole plant foods and flow these wonderful plant juices through them, drink plenty of water, take a walk every day, get that heart rate up so lots of blood pumps through your livers and your kidneys, the body will restore itself. Your genes still know how to be healthy in there. They're just asking for the right milieu to express themselves. And autoimmune diseases go away, lupus goes away, psoriasis goes away, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes. Yes, yes, yes is the answer to that question. And so your job is to give your body healthy whole plant foods, take a walk every day and laugh a lot, get as much love in your life as you can, and watch what happens. Let the calendar do its magic and see if you don't have a healthy body there within 90 days, 6 months, a year. You watch how that body heals itself despite years of junk eating before.
That's great. And it really does take a little while. I mean, for me, it took like maybe a month or two until I started to feel and see the effects. But I feel like my clock was turned back at least 10 years. I wake up every day excited and just, and laughing is actually another thing. Us vegans get
it's
a lot
important.
People always think
We're
we're
to suffer.
uptight,
We're not here to suffer.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. And as we live in more, sort of in sync with the world around us, like that eco versus ego idea, I think laughing becomes more, more.
I like that. Eco versus ego. That's a good one. If you don't mind, I'll use that
Of
one. That's a
course,
good
yes,
one. Thank you.
definitely.
Okay, thank
It's a
you.
big difference. And you know what? It's something that I didn't think, I thought I was very conscious. But as soon as I stopped eating meat, I realized that my life had the same value as every life around me. And then you become mindful, and then you reapproach every aspect from that foundation. It changes everything.
How beautiful. That's absolutely right, Eric. It is life-changing, it's world-changing, future-changing on every level. It's as individuals and as a species, we're being called upon to evolve our diet to plant-based diets. If you want to be healthy, stay out of the clutches of doctors, become a plant-based eater. And if you want a livable world for your children, it's time. The era of animal eating has to end. It's time to turn that page, something we used to do,
Yeah.
but it's now a plant-based future awaits us all if we want to survive.
And it's interesting you say that too, because a lot of the meat that I've experienced is traditional, but I think it comes from poverty and from a lot of groups of people. We're going to make oxtail soup, and then we're going to use this part, and they
That's all
are,
they had.
in their minds, they're respectful of the animal because they use every part. That's their way they see it.
That's the animal, though.
Yeah, true,
How
true,
respectful it was. The whole idea of
exactly.
humane slaughter
Yeah,
is bizarre from the animal's point of view.
I agree.
But the point is, there's a wonderful, satisfying cuisine waiting for us. There's no real sacrifice here, and the rewards are a healthy body and a livable future. Who can really argue with that at this point?
Exactly. Yeah, I agree, and it does. It changes everything over, and it's amazing to see, all of the people moving forward with it. But for example, watching those climate protests, I kind of thought to myself, but how many of those kids are vegans? And if they understood how going vegan could help with a lot of the animal agricultural aspects that we have. Like I had a couple debates on my Facebook about people had some debates about managing animals properly or land properly, things like that. But to me, the whole idea of animal agriculture is a little strange. We have all
It's
this space, we could be growing so much food.
Exactly. Whatever function animal eating played in our roles in our past, that role is past.
Yeah.
That's what it was in the distant past. Here, we have to set ourselves off onto a new course here, and it's got to be a plant-based future. No question.
So, if I could ask you one very just simple, let's say there's somebody out there that maybe wants to try a meatless Monday, or Andrea was saying she's gone vegetarian now for 2 months, which I've talked to her before, which I believe comes from a religious fasting where they don't eat animal products for that, and that's Eastern Orthodoxy, or I'm not sure if you're on there, you can let me know. But so some of it's religious, some of it is spiritual, and some of it is health, and some of it is ethical. So if somebody does want to make a change, what's one very simple thing they can do every day that it would be like one little step towards being a little healthier?
Sure. Absolutely. Well, just start with one meal and pick either breakfast, just have oatmeal and fruit from the morning, or just have some fruit in the morning. That works, and then that's all vegan. And lunches and dinners, soup and salad and a sandwich. So have a bowl of vegetable soup, have a big salad, and have a sandwich that doesn't have meat in it. Anything from guacamole and mushrooms, and I'm even this in these transition times. I'm even in favor of some of these meat analogs, anything that gets people off of eating actual animal flesh there. You mentioned, you wondered how many of those kids were vegan. I noted that Greta Thunberg is vegan, but I would really urge your listeners to educate themselves on this very important subject. There's an author, Dr. Richard Oppenlander, who has written a beautiful book called Comfortably Unaware, which is right where the meat and dairy industry wants us. And Dr. Oppenlander makes it really clear that you can give electric cars to everybody on the planet. You can put solar panels on everybody's houses. If we don't change to a plant-based diet, none of that's going to make any difference. And a large-scale animal agriculture is driving every single environmental destructive force we face: the deforestation, the water pollution, water usage, greenhouse gases. Our voracious appetite for animal flesh is driving this, and that we need to turn off. And it starts by just choosing the bean chili instead of the beef chili. That's the huge sacrifice we're asking people to make. It really isn't much of a sacrifice, but it makes all the difference in the world. So I sure hope those young kids out there demonstrating understand the importance of also getting on with their vegan evolution as well. It's absolutely essential.
And that's so true. Everybody, and actually Mitch Allen is on our show right now. Mitch Allen is, I think, ate a very standard American diet, and then said that he just did exactly what you said. He gave up his breakfast, he gave up the egg and cheese biscuit, whatever, and now he eats oatmeal, and he's dropped tons of weight. He's got tons of energy, and he feels a lot better. And Mitch, I believe, also was going to start doing meatless Mondays. And, and I do feel, there's another interesting aspect where it comes to, a lot of people say, well, protesting, but I feel that our vote in dollars matters. The more of us that go vegan, the more businesses have to adapt. Burger King would have never done this Impossible Burger 10 years ago. So we are forcing them, and, they're not going to do things that don't make money. So, it would be great if we could wake up tomorrow and everybody just stop, but
But you really nailed it, Eric. It's about the Benjamins, as they say. And you're right. If the meat rots in the case, they're going to stop producing it. As long as if we swerve our food choices to plant-based ones, that's what's going to show up in the supermarkets, and it will all get healthier for it. So it's time to, we used to go out and kill whales. We had a commercial whaling industry. We now look at that and say, I can't believe we did that. Well, meat eating has to turn into that same social context where people order a steak, people at the restaurant should say, man, are you still eating that stuff? And that's so 20th century. We got to get on with our evolution here. And so, yes, the money and that's those two moments when you've got that menu in front of you in the restaurant and when you're pushing that cart down the supermarket aisle, deciding what goes in that basket. Those are the two areas where you need to really take your health into account, the animals, the children, the planet, everything, and make those plant-based choices. Everything gets better from there.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Klaper. I really appreciate that. That is, and you're right, that is our critical moment, that we have to choose. And again, that's why I bring up veganism also needs as a movement to stop using so much plastic in our packaging. Some companies are coming out with compostable products, which are amazing. And for everyone that doesn't know,
Wonderful.
Biodegradable doesn't really mean that much, but compostable means everything. So
well said.
If you can find compostable products and they're all over the vegan, that's great. Keep buying those, keep encouraging, because we as vegans are open to trying to improve things. And that, for one of the first places we can tackle it also is with plastic. And so, that's another thing that I implore. But I do think that, it's my uncle, I was got my family here today, and I hope they're considering maybe meatless Mondays. That's my Uncle Larry, and that's my cousin Jamie.
Start with that. There's all sorts of wonderful pasta sauces with no meat in them. Lots of things to have.
Exactly. Exactly. And
do we have one more minute here? Or are we?
You know what? I was going to say, you brought up. Go ahead and please, anything you'd like to.
Well, somebody sent me an article about this movie called The Game Changers, and that it was. They said it didn't prove that meat will kill you. The man missed the point of the movie. The point is to destroy that stereotype of the vegetarian being the skinny, scrawny weakling that it can't perform on the athletic field. Here's an hour and a half of magnificent athletes doing these spectacular athletic accomplishments on plant-based diets. That was the point of the movie. It was not that meat will kill you. Go back and see the movie and rejoice at how the body can put out these superb performances on plant-based nutrition. Feel good about fueling yourself on plants. That's what the movie was about. Just wanted to go on the record for that.
Yeah, that's great. I haven't been able to see it yet, but
Oh, see it.
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah, everybody has told me
It's a
it's
great film.
amazing, and I think it's also incredible because people can see that. Yeah, exactly. Break that stereotype. It's odd that meat
Indeed.
would be associated with manly, but it all comes from the lobbying groups. I mean, this was the group
A lot of
that
it.
even got Oprah to apologize and was
Oh, right.
documented in that amazing book, Mad Cowboy, about
Mm,
one of the whistleblowers that brought it out. So, and that's
right.
what. But you bring it back to what today's podcast is about, which is once the body is natural, it's just natural. It all works naturally. It's effortless, and that's the most amazing thing about veganism. I was raised going to Weight Watchers. I was always overweight. My mom had me do these different things, and she always really tried to get me healthy. And all I had to do was just stop eating that stuff, and it just drops away. And the next word I'm going to put on a little clip after we're done talking. It's a very famous clip. I'm sure most vegans have seen it, where there's a child that refuses to eat octopus because he
Yes.
understands what a sentient being
Powerful.
is, and
It's an
children
animal.
know. Yeah, we as
The
adults
kids know. They know.
see that exactly.
Absolutely.
With the,
And we damp it down, but they know in their hearts, and they're the hope. And we
yes.
need to reinforce that and say, yes, you are right. And they're our teachers. It's a great clip to show. I'm glad you're going to do that.
Nice, thank you. Yeah, because it's like you said, it's simple and everyone knows, and that's what I was going to say. Even kids know. We need to listen. Right now, everybody's stuck listening to their politicians, which are in the middle of the group. But what we need to do are listen to our elders and our children because they have lived, and the other ones still have hope and look forward. So I think it's very exciting, and that's why I love what you're doing. You're out there helping us helping re-educate the adults that can help re-educate the kids, and giving the kids a big handle as well. And I know you were at the Vegan UK Fest, and that was a very big. Actually,
It was a good
a
one.
friend of ours on here, Camilla, met you there and was very
Oh,
motivated by you. And I know that
good.
Camilla family is vegan as well, so she's somebody that practices it through and through. So.
Wonderful.
But
That's
Dr.
great.
Klaper, I wanted to thank you again. Please, thank you for being here today. It really meant a lot that you took the time to come out and talk to everybody and help us get a handle on how we can all move forward together for a better future.
Thank you for bringing this important message to your listeners. I'm honored and delighted to have been part of it. You're doing great work, Eric. Keep it up.
Yeah,
People need to hear this wonderful message.
thank you.
All the best to you and your
All
listeners.
right, thank you.
Take
And
care.
guys, remember, I'm going to put some links down after the show so you can go visit Dr. Klepper's website. Go watch his YouTube videos. I just get lost in them. I'm telling you, there's hours of amazing things to discover. Anyway, thanks again, Dr. Klepper. Here we go, guys. We're going to now watch that understanding veganism is so simple, even kids know it.
Tá? Tá bom?
Tá, mas come o seu nhoque de polvo.
Ah, mãe, tá bom. Esse povo não é de verdade, né?
Não,
Então tá. Ele nem fala e nem cabeça tem, né? Cadê a cabeça dele?
não tem cabeça. Isso
Tá
aí é
bom.
só as perninhas do polvo picada.
Ah, e a cabeça dele tá no mar?
Tá lá na peixaria.
O monstro cortou assim.
Cortou.
Por quê?
Pra gente poder comer, porque senão a gente ia ter que engolir inteiro.
Mas por quê?
É pra comer, amor. Igual corta o boi, corta a galinha.
Ah, a carinha ninguém come também.
Ninguém come a galinha?
É os animais.
É?
É.
Mas vamos comer o nhoque? Come a batata, então.
Só batata e só arroz.
Tá,
Nem o povo é os animais.
tá bom.
Todos esses são os animais. Peixe é os animais. Povo é os animais. Cãe é os animais. Vaca é os animais. Porco é os animais.
É,
Então, Outra vez de comer os animais, eles morrem.
É,
Por quê?
pra gente poder comer, meu amor.
Porque eles morrem. Não gosto que eles morrem. Eu gosto que eles ficam em pé. Eles...
Então tá bom. Então a gente não vai comer mais não, tá bom?
Tá. Esses animais tem que cuidar deles, não comer.
Tá certo, meu filho. Então come a parte da batata e do arroz.
Tá bom. Por que você tá sonhando?
Não tô chorando, não.
Ah,
Eu tô emocionada com você.
eu tô fazendo uma coisa saindo.
Então come. Não precisa comer o polvo, não, tá?
Tá bom.
Hey, all right. Sorry about that. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, sorry about that. I just forgot to turn my audio back on. So it was amazing to talk to Dr. Klaper. He was, well, he is one of the main re-educators. And the best thing is, he's an MD. So his experience, and if you watch his YouTube videos, you will see his experience comes from his own personal health and his own personal experience in there. So, yeah, so anyway, we got some sound back. And I know, Camilla, isn't that such a beautiful video? I remember seeing that video thinking, that little kid gets it. And it's amazing. And, it's just, for me, like my mom put a lot of empathy towards animals when I was a kid. So it was very easy for me to sort of move into a vegan type of lifestyle. Now, the one thing I do want to preface it all with, especially if you're thinking about going vegan or vegetarian, is to make sure to go check out Dr. Klaper's sites or talk to your doctor. Make sure that what you're going to do, you're going to do in a healthy way, which is very important. And if you have any doubts, just eat only things out of your grocer and Indian food. So, sorry, 1 second here. We're going to have Allison join us here in a second. Having a few, I'm not able to call her on my Skype. So Allison, if you're watching, please give me a call so we can talk to her, because that's the difficult aspect, is how do you make the transition? And that's what I would posit, is that you're not going to know if it's right for you or not unless you try. And that's where Meatless Mondays comes in. It's a fantastic, it's a fantastic way to do it. And, Mitch is a great example. I mean, Mitch is fantastic. And I met Mitch personally in Florida, and he's an activist. He very much is considerate of the entire environment always, and all the animals, and he understands that we're all connected, and that goes back to that eco image we've all seen before, but it's something that we have to reconsider even further. Now, I want to take we're going to take a slight journey away from the topic real fast, but one interesting, for me, yeah, I think it's very simple. And the idea is you should listen to your heart. Now, the reason that I say that is not just health, but when I started a documentary on reggae years and years ago, I had a Rastafarian elder that I was with named Ras Padal. And there's Ross Padal, and that's one of the babies at the camp. And this camp was in Baltimore, and it was put together by the Smithsonian Institute. And Ross Padal had been beaten, imprisoned, had his locks, shaved off by the courts of law, and he maintained his fight for his belief, which is, the Rastafarian belief, which is an amazing view on how we can all live in harmony with the world around us, and the remembrance that we are all brothers and sisters. Anyway, Ross Padal, we would do what was called reasoning, where you sit around and you talk about life and you talk about the Bible. And Ross Padal said to me, just listen to your heart. He said, it goes, do good, do good, do good, do good, do good, do good, do good. So I just share that with everybody. It's a piece of wisdom that I felt very lucky that he shared with me. And always follow your heart, because that will be, sorry, 1 second here. So that will be the most important aspect. So remember, your heart is always telling you to do good. So it's 7, 4. Okay, here we go. So that's Allison. She's just getting ready. And anyway, Joanna, thank you. I'm glad to see you on here, Joanna, as well. Joanna does a lot of activism. And she's always conscious, always reading, always fighting for everything now. There we go. And Andrea, I want to ask you, you've been doing 2 months of vegetarian now. How do you feel? I would love to get that feedback. So, okay, wait 1 second here. So we're having slight technical issues. They're not too bad. I'm just trying to get Allison. Let's see. This is the behind the scenes, guys. You call me on Skype. Okay. So hopefully we'll be able to get that together and hear from her. But you know what? This topic is such a big topic that I have a feeling we're going to end up doing a few shows on this. 1 second. Okay. So, all right, here we go. Oh, and Emma's joining us from the UK. Hi, Emma. Emma is a vegan activist. And Dr. Klaper is a legend. And I mean, I was amazed that he made the time for us today, because he's on a mission. He really has a passion to re-educate the doctors, the public, about, what we've all been told before. And we can understand things have changed. And that's one thing, like I was going to say, when the vegan definition was made in 1944, it was, we didn't have the plastic issues that we have today. So we have to really modify and think about it. And, we have to find ways to make some changes that are, are healthy for all of us. And I think that's what we're all trying to do. And that's what, whether you're vegan or not, I believe that your goal is that you want to see your kids happy, you want to see the future, you'd like to see the animals rebound, but all of it can be accomplished by living consciously. And again, we all have different ethics and morals and religions and views on the world. The one thing we don't have is the ability to combine, and this is what we need to do. We need to find a way where all of us say, look, we all need to acknowledge the climate is changing, the resources are disappearing. People can argue about why there's climate change. There's philosophers versus scientists. There's a lot of debate in politics. But, we're coming up with an election, and I don't think politics has anything to do. Well, it has everything and nothing to do with the environment. We have to remember to not look at the environment through political agenda, but to look at political prospects through the environment. The person that you vote for has to vote for clean water. They have to vote for your kids' health. They have to vote for the things that you're aligned with. And how do you know? You don't always know. They give a lot of lip service. Go to opensecrets.org. We talk about it all the time on this show, but you cannot be more armed than knowing who pays for your politicians, and then you'll know which way they're going to vote. And there's never a surprise. It's not like, they're going to get a bunch of money from the oil industry and then come out against plastic straws, for example. You're going to find correlation between the lobbying groups, the amount of money involved in politics, and the political decisions. So this is an upcoming election where we have an opportunity to vote environment. And these kids are demanding we vote environment. There's an emergency, climate change thing coming up here. So the UN's calling an emergency climate change meeting because it has to be dealt with. And again, the way we thought 50 years ago is not going to sustain us for the next 100. And we've seen that in every aspect of our society, whether it's our technology. I mean, it's not like we're living with 50s technology. Our views on other people, that is something that has changed over the years. And hopefully it has a lot of room it needs to improve, but hopefully we're headed in the right direction. And that again comes out to where, vegan is an option to vote for a more sustainable future. But again, it all comes back to sustainability. Hey, Allison, I know you can't connect. I'm so sorry. I'm on my Skype, and for some reason, I am not. Hold on, guys. I really want to try to solve this because Allison has amazing input. And let's see. Oh, Michelle lost signal. Okay. Allison Jade. Allison. Let's see. Let me try to call you. I'm going to call you right now. Okay, guys, here we go. We're going to call Allison, and we are going to talk to her. Here we go. Calls. Okay. I'm not going to give your number out, I promise. But okay. Now, Andrea was saying that she feels so much better after not eating meat for 2 months. So I think that's great. And it's like what Dr. Klaper had talked about, the idea that, this is the weirdest thing. I don't know why we can't connect. I'm sorry, guys. I think we're having some technical difficulties. So I'm going to try to work those out. But if we're not able to, Allison, I'm so sorry. I don't know exactly what happened. Wait, let me try one more thing here. Skype. Oh, this is the wrong Skype. Let's see. Is it at all possible to try to use my email to see if Skype will do a video call? It's ericecrown@protonmail.com. That I can say out loud. So, yeah. So I just wanted to catch up with some of the comments because everybody, I think, was really drawn in today with what Dr. Klaper had to say. And I think one of the more interesting aspects is raising kids vegan, which I'm very excited to talk to Allison about. There's always a debate over if people think animals should be raised vegan or not. But kids are also the debate. And like we talked about before, we know that there is an issue with, we know there's an issue with thinking differently. Like we talked about, if a child does these things to an animal at their own free will, it's considered by psychologists a warning sign of possible psychotic behavior. If they do that in a slaughterhouse, they're just guys trying to make a living. So there's a disconnect we have between everybody here. And oh, wait 1 second, everybody. I think we may have our phone call here. Let's hello. Answer online. Hello. Hi. Hey, I know this is kind of weird. My Facebook runs on a different Skype than my computer does. Does your Skype have the option to send it through email? Okay. All right, no problem. So here we go, guys. This is, yeah. I don't know. That's very strange. I'm trying to type in your name and it's not calling it up for some reason. But yeah, this is very weird. Okay. Yep. Yes, please. Okay. Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Okay, thanks. Or if you can send it to my email, ericecrown@proton. Oh, well. Anyway, guys, we're just trying to solve that because it would be great to have Allison on today, especially when everybody is looking towards, trying to make this transition. So, and thank you, Michelle. I didn't know if we would, it was interesting to talk about veganism in the sense of sustainability. So yeah, Molly, exactly. If we have to, we'll put her back on. Yeah, Camilla, it is. It is. It's just me here with my computer. So I'm sorry, guys, if it's not, pro, as it's called. But and Michelle had a good thing to the group. Is their website is a quick reference while grocery shopping on what ingredients to avoid when looking at labels. That is a fantastic question, Michelle. There is a couple good guides that you can use. One is on vegansociety.com. They do have a nice thing to look out for. For example, like gelatin. Gelatin is hidden in everything, but you can go with the fruit-based pectin, which is good. But generally, if anybody has any good website ideas, please pop them up there in our guide, and we'll take a look and see what we can get going there. And then we're just going to wait for this call to come in. Now, if for any reason we cannot get Allison on today, we're going to talk to her next week because we will continue this conversation. When it comes to health, everything is important. And I think we have to remember, we have to go back to that eco-ego idea. And we all know this. We've all seen this before. It's been on Facebook and everywhere around. But we do have to remember that we're part of this circle, not this triangle, like a pyramid, like a food pyramid, that we're the top of. We have to remove that concept. That's to the left, the ego, that's the thinking that's got us to where we are today. And again, no matter what you think about climate change or you think about all those other aspects, the fact is we can all agree that it's happening and that we need to make a change. Everyone knows we need to make a change. So, and you know what? Emma brings up a great point. Avoid palm oil. Palm oil is extremely destructive. It's a monoculture. It is destroying the majority of habitats that are around. Now, there are some palm oil areas that are supposedly managed and grown sustainably, but until we really know that for a fact, it is something that can be avoided. And Emma brings up a good point that palm oil is in all kinds of things you wouldn't guess. Just like you wouldn't guess that there was fish stuff in Coca-Cola, But avoid the palm oil. And if you Google palm oil, you're going to find out that it has a bunch of other names now they're using for it. It's kind of like how Monsanto said, all right, everybody knows what we did. Now we're going to become Bayer. It doesn't work. I mean, it fools a few people here or there or whatever, but, for most of us that are conscious, we're there. And yes, Camilla also mentions many items contain milk. Many items contain carrageenan, which is an aspect of milk. It's sort of like if you get dehydrated milk, it still has the carrageenan in it. So you're going to want to check into those things. And look, hey, if you're transferring over, you got to have the fake fish, the fake chicken, the fake burgers. I'm just the same. Like, I love a good veggie burger. That may make me a good or bad vegan, I don't know, but I don't care. That's the thing, right? It's personal choice, but it's a personal choice that affects the world. So if 8 million of us make a personal choice that affects the world, it'll affect the world. So don't forget, we have power. Dr. Klaper talked about it. Camilla just says, check up makeup brands. True. Check and make sure you're doing cruelty-free. And this is something that's very important because, again, it goes back to if you're going to live a vegan lifestyle of not eating meat, you're going to want to make sure your shoes don't have horse glue. You're going to want to make sure you're not buying, Nike that's made out of seal leather because, yeah, bad news, a lot of shoes are made out of seals, and so are a lot of car interiors. And that's what brings me back to how far do we go in our sustainability concept. If you have a car by Toyota and Toyota sells leather and Toyota therefore buys leather, if you buy a cloth Toyota, are you still encouraging a leather buying company? It's very complicated. They've made it complicated. We don't have much choice. We're not perfect. We live in an insanely imperfect world, but we are, and lots of different religious groups would say we're made in, the image of the Creator. But just imagine that in this imperfect society, in this imperfect concept of money that we've sold everything out to, there is a perfection and a beauty in all of us in how we combine. And one is never going to do it, but all of us together can make a huge difference. It's like you said, our power is in numbers. It's true. So here we go, guys, 1 second. And yes, here we go. Guys, we are now, I hope this is, Allison, I hope it's you. I am actually calling, there's a few Allisons that showed up, so. Nope, that's not you, okay. Some of the other Allisons are gonna go, who? Okay, guys, 1 second, this is very exciting. I think we're gonna be able to make our connection here, so. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. I'm going to try this one first. Canada. Allison's from Canada. Allison's joining us from Canada today, so we can all talk about how to transfer over from our normal habits, our normal way of living. A lot of people talk about that, it's expensive to be vegan. But in fact, I would contest that and say Allison's going to be able to find ways that we can avoid that. That's kind of a myth. And so is the protein thing, just to bring that up. So, hey there, can you hear me? Let's see, we have a connection, but it seems to just be a... 1 second. Here we go, guys. Here we go. We're going to get Allison on. This is very exciting, everybody. Here we go. Nope. We're not coming in. Let's see. Oops. There we go. So, yeah, let's get that back on. Okay. For some reason, we are having an issue with Skype, everybody. I do apologize. I apologize to Allison, who, for some reason, I am having an issue being able to get on here. So we are going to have to get that figured out. And we'll actually just have to maybe devote the whole next show to how to live as a vegan. And you know what? We could talk to her for 2 shows. I mean, there is so much to learn. There's so many questions. Everybody has a lot of questions when it comes to, the way that we can live and the way that we can live in our harmony, the way that we can live. Here we go. And yeah, I apologize, guys. I don't know what's happening with our Skype. I'm so sorry. There we go. Here's a time where our technology is not going to cooperate with us. So let's do this. Next week, Allison, if it's possible, I would love to have you back on. We'll talk during the week to make sure that everything works. Guys, it's totally my fault. I didn't even think about making sure that worked out there. So Joanna's about to do a purge. Fantastic. Okay, excellent. So guys, Allison, I'm going to put the link to her because I would like for you to go check out her recipes, her videos. She is a yoga instructor, a wellness coach, a mom, a wife. Her family is vegan, and I think that's amazing because it's a difficult thing, and I think that it would be great to talk to somebody whose family is fully vegan and see how that's affected. And Allison, as you've heard from everybody today, you've got a few challenges. People would like to know how to live vegan without it being too expensive. Good meal for 4 for $10. Mitch is very interested in that. And Mitch, definitely, I'll send you the link over to her recipes as well. Because it's great. And, you just have to kind of rethink the way that everything is, the way that you're eating and the way that you're buying your food. So, which is what we're all doing anyway, so it can't hurt to continue with that. So, but again, I apologize we couldn't get Allison on today. I'm glad we got Dr. Klaper on. I'm glad we were able to talk about some of the myths and misconceptions. Like he talked about, milk doesn't necessarily improve your bones. It's something interesting. If you go Google dandelions and bones, you're going to be blown away. And this is what it comes back to is, again, the holistic concept. This is medical knowledge that our ancestors had. We've been around for 28,000 years, something like that, 13,000 years, at least. In Africa, they've counted, I think, at least 13,000 years. So we've always known what plants do. When I was in the Amazon, they would chop off a vine and you could drink water from it. You could scrape off pieces of a mushroom and it was paracetamol. This was really mind-blowing. Over 30% of all Western medicine comes from plants and plant knowledge. Over 70% of chemotherapy drugs are designed by plants found in the Amazon that's burning, so that people can raise more beef to give us more cancer. So there is where we find ourselves. But the thing about it is it's important. Look, if you are somebody that wants to continue to eat meat, what I do implore you to do is pay attention, to your fish. I mean, most fish that are farmed are very dangerous. Most fish have microplastics, and the microplastics get into your bones and your bloodstream, and they're causing things we don't even know about. I mean, we don't know anything about plastic, and this is what I want to throw out there. They say that the plastic bottle goes away in 100 years. We started using plastic bottles about 60 years ago. We've never seen one dissolve fully. We don't know. We're guessing. So, I don't know. Michelle Fuller, family member with cancer and bones cannot have calcium. See, that's I didn't know that. Milk, yeah, exactly. Mercury is another big one. Mitch, thank you. Mercury is in fish, and the bigger that you get in the food chain, the bigger the fish you eat, the shark, the whatever has tons of mercury, because it starts with the little fish and they all get eaten up there. It's very dangerous. Tons of heavy metals in our waters they're being polluted all the time. Just think about this one idea. Actually, Allison had a great thing. Dandelions are free. See, you guys pick them with your daughter all the time. That is amazing. Just imagine how that kid is going to grow up having an understanding that she can interact with the world around her when most kids grow up interacting through a video game platform. And not that there's anything wrong with video games. I love video games. I played them tons as a kid, but I also played outside. And we had a balance, and maybe that balance has disappeared over the last 20 years. I don't see a lot of the kids having the same, so it's beautiful to see that, Allison. I love hearing that. Allison, yes, exactly. Yes, Michelle, you can go to Allison, I think does have some recipes up there, and she mentioned to me she was putting together some recipes, so we can all find good, inexpensive ways to eat healthy. And here's the other thing I want to mention about cost, though. When you are eating vegan, you might spend sometimes another $10, but the preventative aspect of it, and this is my personal experience. Okay, I can eat a Carl's Jr. cheeseburger for 30 cents and 2 tacos for $1, something like that, right? Well, I did, and I got cancer. I stopped and I started eating more whole food, plant foods, basically anything in a natural wrapper. As a result, it's all gone away. So I think, we can, you might spend a little bit more money now, but I don't have as much medical expense because I don't have high cholesterol. I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have hypertension, all the stuff I had before I stopped eating meat. I still have cancer, but that won't ever go away. But being vegan does allow me to manage the growth of the cancer, and Mitch makes a good point. You save huge on prescription drugs. It's absolutely correct. Broccoli, Camilla mentions broccoli. Broccoli is one of the great secrets to protein. Broccoli is so good for you. It's very debated, I know, between if it has the same amount as steak or not. But the thing is steak has more protein than you need in a day. So we've been taught to over protein anyway. And I don't know, this might sound weird, but when you go to the bathroom, if things are very dark, it's a sign of over protein, which a lot of meat eaters have. They have a big steak and then they're like, whoa, and I used to want to take a nap after steak. Now I eat broccoli and I'm just like, let's go, let's surf, let's do this stuff. So it's a difference in when your meal is done, you're filled with energy. It's amazing. And you start to realize food is your fuel, food is your medicine. Food is also the thing that was taken away from us in the 50s by corporations and turned into a thing we bought. Kraft is not a food company, but it is now. Kellogg should not be a food company. Our farmers have been sold out to these companies. They're hurting just as much. I have a family farm that was put in a world of hurt through Monsanto and through chemicals and through everything that we've seen happen to the small farmer that tries to grow agriculture and tries to grow soy. So, and yeah, Emma says eating quality fruit and veg is well worth the extra dollars. 100%. Allison, we're all over consuming. So exactly, we are over consuming. So we can reduce a lot of costs in adults and eating less. Better quality, less quantity. And that's true. I eat 6 times a day. And that's the difference too. I used to just eat 2 big, huge meals. And now it's like apple, banana, avocado. Oh my gosh, raw avocado. Around the world, one of the best foods. Mango, and it's funny because people say, and I know that everyone's going to laugh about this. People say, if you're a vegan, what do you eat? But again, it's because we're trained to just think of vegetables as a side dish. So, if you take away the meat from an American plate, what are you going to eat? You're going to eat some peas and some potatoes maybe, or whatever. So we have to rethink food and rethink everything. War on miracle weed, legalize prescription drugs, yes. Side effects, munchies, peace, or disease. Yes, Mitch, I agree. I think that, medical marijuana has been a huge help. It's, for me, I used it when I had a lot of my radiation, and it made the difference between being able to eat and not eat, being able to not throw up, not be nauseous all day, But not only that, it affects your way you think. Anybody that's ever been out there, that's been on chemo or radiation, understands that you get into dark areas when that happens. And again, this is why when I think of that, I think, kids don't have to have this. This is why we have to fight pollution, fight climate change. We have to fight how things are right now. Nothing is okay. And our kids are getting cancer because of it, and they're going through, and I just can't. And if we can stop it, it's our moral obligation to do so. And I know all of us feel that, but we have to remember that every effect we make and everything we buy and everything we do environmentally all circles back to that. I don't have kids, but a lot of my friends do, and I look at them and think, gosh, like, do you guys remember in Blade Runner, there's a big thing about a real snake versus a synthetic snake, or a lab-grown snake. And she said, what are you, crazy? I could never afford a real snake. So that's possibly the future we're headed towards if we allow animal agriculture to control how animals survive. If they say we won't have cows if we don't have beef, I say, how about India? It just depends. It's all cultural and it's all personal and it's all relative. The number one key is be happy, be kind, be compassionate, live compassionately in whatever that means to you, because that compassion throws that vibration into the universe. And whether you're vegan or not, we all need to work towards it together. And we need to build our bridges, and we need to see, understand, and try to find solutions forward. And I think that that's what we all talked about today, which was great. And Dr. Klaper gave us I think the most important thing is you don't necessarily need to go in the old way of thinking to continue to eat and be healthy and be happy and smile. And that's one of the things. Yes, Google Russell says plant-based is the only way to go. Fresh, organic, raw fruits and vegetables. And as Dr. Klaper said, you never even have to worry about what you're eating. That's the other great thing. So many of my friends are like, well, if I don't eat this potato, I can have a piece of cake tonight. And they bargain with themselves, and it becomes like they get wrapped up in the concept of a diet. Diet is a thing you follow, but diet is a way of life. Diet should be the way that you approach food, not a thing that you do to manage food. Food is not your enemy. It's your medicine. It's your friend. It is you. And like she just said, plant-based is the only way to go. Fresh, organic, raw fruits and vegetables are amazing. When I was traveling, like I said, in remote areas, all I could get. That's how I ended up going raw vegan. Now, there's also a lot of talk in the cancer world that if by going raw vegan, you enact enzymes in your body to fight cancer. And I have a few friends that have gone into remission by going raw. Again, I can't say that it's for every body will have that same effect. As Dr. Klaper said, our genes and our food will play like a piano, and that'll make all the difference. So, Andrea, I know Andrea and I have talked about cancer before, and chemo is a complete nightmare. Diabetes, again, kids have we're getting into, and we got to think about this too. As our technology becomes more entrenched in our work life, the idea of sitting at the desk is becoming more and more. So, more and more kids are being raised in that particular type of thing. And I love that, Emma. Yes, we are all working towards a higher vibration. Exactly. And that's what I mean. I think everybody on both sides of the aisle need to forget all the ego and think through eco. Let's get together. Let's be mindful. Bruce Coleman, I don't know if Bruce is on the show or not, but Bruce always talks about being mindful, and I think that that's a beautiful phrase, because if you're mindful, then you're going to be kind to everything around you in the best way you know how. And I think that's all we can do to move forward. We hopefully we can change ourselves, but we need to lead by example and show our kids. And our kids actually have flipped that on us, and now they're leading by example and showing us how to demand change. So amazing, amazing, amazing. I go back to the climate protests were amazing. And Joanna brings up another thing, alkaline versus acid. Meat is extremely acidic. Meat actually In cancer, you want to make sure you have an alkaline-based body, and that is a whole other aspect to eating. And most plants you'll find will create a neutral to alkaline-based pH inside of your body, whereas most dairy and meats will create more of an acid-based thing there. So it's a whole other aspect to look into. But again, guys, we have had an amazing podcast today. Thanks to Dr. Klaper for being here. Thanks to Allison for trying to be here. Sorry, Allison, I wasn't able to get my Skype going. You're going to be on next week, and I want to continue this conversation with everybody. I want to talk about healthy recipes. I want to talk about how to approach veganism in a positive fashion that's not going to break your bank, and in a way that's welcoming to everybody. And for everybody that still loves the burger, I totally understand. I would love if you were to try maybe Meatless Monday, and let us know how you feel. Or like Mitch, just give up maybe one of those meals a day, like Dr. Klaper mentioned, and tell us if you feel anything different by next week. Yes, we must have an alkaline body. Chemo is an acid, which is a terrible way to go. Yes, I will say, from my personal experience, I decided to stop all medication for my cancer. It's because these side effects were kind of worse than dealing with the cancer itself. And if I can manage the cancer through my eating, then there's no point in going through that again. So, and your taste buds, it's amazing change. Like, when I stopped, I was like, oh, I miss a burger, I miss my chicken, whatever. But now it's like, oh, I really want a pineapple right now, or some blueberries. When I was on radiation, I could not taste blueberries. As a result, I eat them every day now. So anyway, it's nice to talk to everybody about this. I feel like we're in this beautiful time. Everyone is very conscious. Everyone is finding their own path to move forward. And, listen, if you run into a vegan that is very passionate, it's because they have seen the change and they're trying to sound the alarm bells the way that they know how. And they might come off as rude or brash, but it really honestly comes from a place of caring. And, vegans, we need to remember that we were not always vegan, and we need to remember to build bridges, because anybody that we can help feel better will take care of the world around them. You take care of, it's like they always say, you have to love yourself first, and then you can love everything around you, because then you find that love. And like our Rasta elder said earlier, the heartbeat tells you, do good, do good, do good. So thanks, everybody. I love talking to you guys about this. Remember to listen to your heart always. And this is exciting. I think when we see these climate changes, we know the world is changing. It's an amazing time we live in. Thanks for being here at the Conservation Conversation. Next week, we are going to talk to, this is going to be very exciting. Next week, we're going to have Allison Jade on. We're going to talk more about vegan lifestyle health. And we're going to have on Carrie David, who's a documentary filmmaker that made a film about an anti-poaching, all-female team in Africa that is fighting on the front lines. And she's an amazing filmmaker. And, I think in a lot of ways, the topic is that we need to celebrate women in conservation. And they're in all different aspects of conservation, whether it's changing food or it's bringing light to issues, and they're making a difference. And Carrie's making a difference. Allison's making a difference. All the ladies that are represented in the documentary by Carrie are making a difference. And most of the people that I know that are conscious vegans or that are leaders in the vegan movement, like Priya and other people, are also female. And I think that women in conservation have taken the role. Look at Greta. I mean, there are our leaders in this movement, and it's another beautiful thing to see. So anyway, thank you guys. It's fantastic to see everybody, and always love our conversations. It's so cool that we have this space to all talk together, be together, think about solutions, share information, because that is the new library. Is, you know, with social media, the new library is semi-Google, but you can't trust Google. But if we all start talking and we all have conversations, we can pass information on just like we did 13,000 years ago, from person to person. Anyway, follow your heart, do good, take care. We'll see you next week.